So bases dropped on Tuesday Thoughts here on the morning show on the SDH Network. We're officially in a no dilly, no dally zone because folks are like a lot busier than I am, including this person. Like I said, we ain't wasting no time, and I'm going straight to her car. Jenn Hildreth, what is up?
Hello, good morning. Yes, great to see you from my car where I am parked. So safety first, everyone.
Yes. It is safe guesting. Absolutely. That is exactly where we are here with a safe guesting zone. The reason I brought you in, other than you being one of the busiest people in show business and actually catching you and pinning you down, like trying to catch a comet by the tail, it's like, stop it, is A, how are you? Because your seasons are starting to merge.
Yeah, good. I know those merging season times are always a little bit crazy, but actually it's been amazing because the last few weeks, last week, this week, next week, I only have one event a week. And look, I am very grateful for everything I do. So I'm in no way complaining, but one event a week is really kind of nice. It's usually it's been two, sometimes three or more, which is fantastic, but it just makes for things being a little more hectic. So we just have one game to focus on, and it's the postseason. I mean, that is like the best, absolute best.
How many miles do you put on your luggage and all of your frequent flyer and visiting memberships during a season like this?
Yeah, well, as you know, living in Atlanta, Delta all the way, right? I'm a Delta gal, so definitely a million miler for sure. I don't know beyond that, but it's a lot. It's that luggage gets a lot, constantly on the move, whether I'm going on a plane to go to a studio, which I do for a lot of my NWSL games, or I'm going on site as we are for the postseason.
All right, so I will go ahead and ask this question when it comes to calling things in a studio versus calling them live. It's a bit of an adjustment. It takes a little getting used to. How long did it take you to get adjusted to the idea of 19 monitors and, okay, I've got to look here, and here, and still look and sound like I know what I'm doing, and it's as flawless as it comes across? How long did it take you to adjust to that?
Yeah, and everything's a little bit different. And honestly, I've been doing it for a while because big events like World Cups, where they're international, those have been done remotely for a long time. So even as far back as the 2019 World Cup, did that from LA. So, and that experience is very different in terms of what you get on a monitor. That's a world feed. So it's the same feed that's being sent out to every other broadcaster around the world. We have no control over the pictures. So I literally just have to follow the pictures. That's one adjustment. And then to where I do now, so we go down to Vista Studios in Fort Lauderdale for a lot of these NWSL games. We've been doing that for several years. And there is more of a shift. I mean, I do some games from my home for ESPN with my home studio, that setup. So they're all a little bit different in terms of what we're given. But it's funny, when I shift back to being on site, I have to remind myself more to look at the monitor, because when you're doing it remotely, all you have is a monitor. So I have no choice where I put my eyes. I only see what is given to me. And I have to call. The good news is that I'm completely in sync with what the audience is seeing. When you're on site, I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking at the benches, I'm looking at the crowd, I'm looking at the referee. And I sometimes have to remind myself to look back down at the monitor so that I am matching what the viewers are seeing. So that, I think, is one of the biggest adjustments. And then just calling the sport, like, I like to have those other cues, the refs, the other teammates, the bench, to help me understand what's happening sometimes. Or if I'm looking down and all of a sudden I'm maybe looking at my notes and I hear the crowd starting to swell, then I know, oh, I better look up. Something's happening. There's been a turnover. So it's just different. Both of them are different. I think they can be done well when you do them virtually. It's always still preferable to be on site because you feel like you're so much more a part of the action. But it's our job to bring that to the viewers regardless of where we are.
Jenn Hildreth dropping by this morning here on the morning show. And yes, I'm catching up with Jenn because it's been entirely too long since I have seen/talked to her because she's so darn busy that I'm actually asking these questions before we get into the NWSL conversation to lead things off on a Tuesday. Your home studio. Here's mine. I have two. I've got obviously this camera here set up, and that's where I have all of the audio equipment, and that lines itself into the output. Then I have two separate desktops or two separate laptops doing different things, whether it's scores and schedules and stats and Opta and all that kind of stuff. And then I call it off a big 55-inch monitor off my left shoulder, but I turn to my left and I can sit here and stand and stare at it. What is your home setup like? I'm taking notes.
Yeah, no, very similar actually. So I have a laptop, which is essentially the heart of how we get all of our information. It's like a souped up Zoom call that connects me to ESPN, and we've got tech support there. Headset, same as you, with audio and an audio box. Big 55-inch monitor, but my camera would be over to my side. So when I turn to do it on camera, I turn and look at the camera. Then I turn back and look at my big monitor that's on my desk. And then, yes, I have up to 1, 2, usually no more than 2 other monitors or iPads or something where I've got stat broadcast, or sometimes I'll pull up another feed of the Zoom so I can see my stats guy and he can give me information directly that way.
Okay. All right. So now that I've gotten the studio comparisons out of the way, let's actually talk about why you're here. And it's the NWSL postseason.
Yes.
Let me get through the regular season and get everybody caught up. Is there a comparison in any other sport that you can think of with what Orlando did this year, playing out of their blanking minds and getting that run that they did? Is there any other comparison for someone who doesn't watch NWSL regularly? What else would you compare something like that to?
Well, I mean, gosh, how many perfect seasons have there been ever in any sport? I can think of more college examples. That's probably where I'm more attuned in terms of history, but to think about going 23 games in a season without a loss, it just doesn't happen. It does not happen in today's day and age. And even if you look at some other sports, NFL, I mean, they play so many fewer games. So to do it in as long a season as this one is, I don't know that there is a comparison. Like I said, I can think of some college comparisons. North Carolina, Florida State women's soccer. That's my most recent example. They have last year they were an unbeaten season all the way to the national championship. So it's very rare, but to do it on a professional scale and a league as difficult and balanced as the NWSL typically is, it's probably something we'll never see again. I think had they gone all the way, that would have really no team has ever finished an NWSL season unbeaten. There's a reason for that. It's too hard to do. We thought we'd see it this year, but look, the other part of it is, and I think most fans can understand this, Orlando locks up the Shield with 3 games to go. It's hard to keep your foot on that competitive pedal, no matter who you are, when you've got 3 games that essentially mean nothing. They affect nothing in your standings. You're going to be the 1 seed in the playoffs. You've already earned home field and the Shield. And I think a little bit they might have shifted off. And there were all different kinds of factors. They had to go out to Portland. That was their first loss. So they travel cross country. There was a hurricane. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, there were a couple of losses. And I think, and we'll talk about this when we talk Orlando, I do think that's significant.
How significant is it?
Okay, you're all right. You're ready to go into it. Okay. So do I think this means that they are not the super team they were all season? No. But they did lose back-to-back games after starting the season with 23 in a row without a loss. So I think that does a couple of things. One, it eviscerates that aura of invincibility, not only for the other teams who now go, oh, they can be beaten. And I promise you that means something. But it did it for the players themselves, because there is something when you just keep finding a way to get it done and you believe in your every bit of your soul, we're going to find a way to win this. We're going to find a way to tie this late. They did that. And then all of a sudden for 2 games in a row, they didn't. And some would say, okay, look, they suffered a loss. It's better to have it happen then so it doesn't happen in the postseason when you lose and you're out. And I can buy into that. But I do think there's a little bit of that mentally. And the other half of it was their big star, Barbara Banda, was not scoring down the stretch. She had 12 goals in her first 12 games, and I think she had 1 in 10. I think that was the number after the break, until, of course, the playoffs came. And the first round, I think Orlando got exactly what they needed out of their quarterfinal match, and that included a brace from Barbara Banda.
And when you look at, and I do have a Christine Sinclair question that we'll save to the end, considering you can't address the NWSL and without addressing Christine Sinclair and what she's meant to the growth of the sport. You had the 4 teams at the top that by the end of it, in the regular season, they were all kind of crunched up against each other. And it was a fantastic season in Kansas City. You got to see the star power in Gotham. And a lot of folks were sitting there saying, yeah, Gotham's got, Gotham is like the Inter Miami version of the NWSL. Yeah. It's Messi and friends, where in Gotham it's like, well, it's so and so and friends, but it's her and it's her and it's her. And then Washington Spirit, obviously, local ties here in the SEC with Croy Bethune and all of that. I mean, you had these 4 teams that were kind of crushed up against each other by the time the regular season was over: Orlando, Washington, Gotham, and Kansas City. When you looked at the seasons of the other 3, since we talked about Orlando, what else stood out to you with Washington, Gotham, and Kansas City this year?
Yeah, and I will say it's interesting because, okay, so this is the first year with the NWSL going to 8 teams to the playoffs. I think that's fine to go to the playoffs. I do, however, think there was a clear distinction between the top 4 and the next 4.
Yeah.
North Carolina was really close. And look, the games were competitive. Portland put together a great game at Gotham. I got to call that one on Sunday. So I'm not saying the games weren't still competitive, but in my mind, I never saw anyone outside of that top 4 winning the championship. They were at a different level. And I think what all 4 of those teams have, they have the ability to score from a variety of ways. Now, a couple of them have some big time superstars. Temwa Shawinga is like nothing this league has ever seen for Kansas City. I mean, she set the Golden Boot record. And that team, if you guys get a chance to watch Kansas City this weekend, and I hope you do anyway, because I'm going to be calling that game on Sunday in Orlando. There you go. ABC 2:30 coverage starts. Watch that Kansas City team when they press high and they win the ball back. Their midfielders can put on a clinic in the way that they set up Temwa Shawinga, and give her credit too for her runs, because everybody knows it's coming and they still can't stop it. But Lola Bonta, Vanessa DiBernardo, Claire Hutton, the rookie, the way that they distribute and find her in different ways and find her quickly. I mean, and not just her, Dabinia or Michelle Cooper, whoever else might be up there too. That Kansas City team, I think when they are full go, nobody's stopping them. You have to hope for a big save from your goalkeeper. You have to hope for a huge last-minute intervention from a defender. But if they get it right, and they do often, I just think you can't stop them. Now, that's if they get those moments, and I'm really, really curious. I could go on forever with the Kansas City-Orlando matchup, because I hope we're not going to see any of that sit in a really low block like Kansas City did the last time. It was 0-0. I don't think we're getting 0-0 this time, because we've seen that. We're not going to see that again. Anyway, so I think what all these teams have is the ability to score in different ways. Some have a big superstar. For Washington, it would be Trinity Rodman. She's certainly at the heart of that team when you think about a player that can change a game on a dime. But they also have to have a lot of other really good pieces, right? They've got to be strong defensively. Kansas City got a lot better defensively as the season went on. Orlando and Gotham are the 2 best teams in the league defensively in terms of goals against. Big concern for Washington, and I include a holding midfielder in this defensive conversation, is no Andy Sullivan. I think that's really, really going to hinder them, especially in the semifinal matchup. If they can get past Gotham without her, it's going to be really impressive. But I think it's going to be really, really hard. So these teams, they're very well-rounded, all of them. They can score. They defend very well. They've got intelligent players in the midfield who can set up all of those weapons in their attack.
Down to the Final Four in the NWSL, noon on Saturday, Washington and Gotham. That one is on CBS, Paramount Plus, however you access that one. And then the one that we really are focused on, Sunday in Orlando and ABC, Orlando and Kansas City, because Jenn Hildreth is hanging out with us. What's it been like for you to see the NWSL grow and evolve to this point, to where you have teams coming in? You have Bay. Bay is drawing better than San Jose. I mean, you had folks out the door and down the block and toward the airport for their home opener. What's it been like for you to see the NWSL grow to where it is right now, bringing in all the talent from around the planet and other planets and things like that, and also the growth of the U.S. game, to see all of this star power in one place?
Yeah, I think it coincides with the growth of women's sports in general right now, and it's really rewarding to be someone who's covered women's sports for so long. And you talk about all that influx of talent coming in to the NWSL. Well, we've always had that, and I've heard this said with the WNBA a lot. It's been there. People are just looking now. There's more eyeballs on it. And that's just the reality of sports. It's a saturated landscape here in the United States. It's hard to get a lot of eyes on everything that's going on. So if you start really promoting these sports, putting them where people can see them. I mean, the fact that we've got playoff games that we had last weekend on CBS, on ABC. The two semifinals are going to be CBS, ABC on network television. That is huge because that's not just the women's soccer fans who know how great this league is. That's now your casual viewer that might just be sitting at a bar and has ABC on, and they're like, oh, this is actually pretty entertaining because the product sells itself. And now it's having an opportunity to get in front of people. So yeah, it's incredible. I think we're just tip of the iceberg. That's what's really exciting. I think it's going to continue to grow. And I think the media deals have been huge in that. And I really give credit to all the media partners this year, the NWSL for helping to set those up. The games have been great. The productions have been great. Think back to the quality of, where it was 10 years ago, man, you were trying to find Go 90 stream to figure out where the NWSL was playing. Like, amen, we don't have those days anymore.
You ain't kidding. Wrapping up here with Jenn Hildreth because she's got to like run errands and things and do like normal human things before she has to do conference calls and catch up with coaches and call players and figure out what's going on as she gets ready for the semifinals this week in the NWSL. By the way, you know that you have golden ticket status here and you can crash anytime. It doesn't just happen with NWSL stuff.
I appreciate it. No, it's so funny when you texted. I was like, yes, we need to have this conversation because here we are. And you guys are so good at keeping an eye on what's happening in NWSL. And I always appreciate the invite.
Well, and so when it comes to the NWSL, and we've followed the career of Christine Sinclair, and I wanted to kind of wrap up with this one because I know that your day is profoundly busy. For anyone that has missed out on what she has meant to the game, how would you break down how integral she has been to the growth of the game in this hemisphere, not just in one country or the other, but in this hemisphere, and then obviously with her worldwide presence as well? What are we missing out on now that she's finally retiring?
It's going to kind of be, is it okay if I quote a little Cinderella? You don't know what you got till it's gone. I mean, oh my gosh. And there's a leaf blower. Can you, like, he's literally coming right outside my car right now. Wow, you can't escape leaf blowers. I'm so sorry, you guys, for the audio. There he is.
We'll just roll down your window and go, dude, I'm busy.
I mean, so bear with me 1 second. I'm so sorry. As I'm trying to talk, Christine.
It's all good. It's all
sound okay? Okay.
Just go.
I gotta get my voice back too, by the way. It's a little raspy this morning. We got a few days to get it back. All right. Anyway, don't know what you got till it's gone is where I was going. I think Christine Sinclair, like, grace comes with everything that she does. She is not an in-your-face, outspoken type character. Like, Megan Rapinoe was a huge face in women's soccer and went about things in her own way. Christine Sinclair did things in a very different way. But when you consider that this is a player who's scored more goals internationally than any other player, male or female, just let that sink in for a second. That's incredible. That speaks to her legacy. And then she's been at Portland since the beginning. And, she played for Portland in college and won national championships there. She's won 3 NWSL championships with the Portland Thorns. And she's just been one of the flag bearers for this sport and for this league. She's done it with grace and humility. The way she glides on the field and makes everyone better. You can tell how much her teammates love her. And she's helped to grow the sport in Canada in a way that I think we've seen the sport grow from a women's soccer perspective in the US. So she's comparable to like our 99ers for a women's soccer team in the US. And yeah, to watch her walk off the field for a last time in our game at Gotham on Sunday was a little surreal. You almost can't picture this game and this league without her, but we're going to have to get used to that. With all these big time legends retiring, we're going to have to shift our focus and get ready for this new crop of superstars.
Really looking forward to that new crop as well, and the way that that you and everybody that's with you in the booth and down on the field get to tell these stories. All right, hit the promo for me one more time. Where are you, and what are you up to this weekend?
All right, headed down to Orlando. So, I'm going to get like a quick little trip over to Disney while I'm down there. Just got to do that. But I'll be down there with Leanne Sanderson. We're so excited to finish out our season. We've been together all year on the ESPN NWSL games, but we will have the semifinal between the two leaders. You got some excitement here. Barbara Banda with Orlando, Thelma Shawinga with Kansas City. Those two are showstoppers. They're worth tuning in all on their own. But for a spot in the championship, we'll have that game on Sunday on ABC. Coverage starts at 2:30 on Sunday.
All right, so you realize, of course, now that we've started this, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to have to come on the show to break everything down from what has happened to set up what's going to happen. You realize?
I can definitely do it. I can definitely do it for next week. But then, like, I'm not on the final this time because the CBS has got the final. And you know what? I'm off to Disney again. Like, it's kind of crazy. But, so I'll come on. I'll come on and talk anytime you want, NWSL.
Well, and you can talk about anything else. NWSL doesn't matter. Hey, I want to talk about college. I want to talk about college hoops. I want to talk about whatever. You've got golden ticket status, Jenn. It's great to see you. And now leave the car and go talk to the dude with the leaf blower and go, bruh, I was busy.
I know. He's gone now. I think you got the message.
Segment's over, so of course he's out the door. Jenn, it's great to see you, my friend. Be well, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, John.
All right, that's Jenn Hildreth, everybody. And Jenn puts up with me. Jen's put up with me for like a week and a half. Yeah, we've known each other for like a week and a half, and so she puts up with me on a daily basis. But no, it's great to catch up with Jenn and see her and let everybody know what's going on with the NWSL and everything there. So once again, remember, Jenn's on game number 2, semifinal number 2, the Sunday in Orlando. And I forgot to ask, so I'll ask her next week when she goes and visits Disney World. I got to find out what parts of the park she goes to. I have to break this down and find out what's going on there. All right, so that's Jenn Hildreth, everybody. Major domo play-by-play for multiple sports, but in this particular time of year, it's the NWSL. No, it's always good. And so I think Jenn had like normal person stuff that she had to do, and so it's always great to catch up with her there. So yeah, and so that's Jenn Hildreth, everybody. Hi, welcome to the morning show. Yeah, Jenn was like, I can come on like early, and so morning Alex, morning D Graham, morning Dawn Star, and morning Soccer for Good OG. Morning to all of you guys. Here's the rundown for the show this morning. Okay, so between now and like 10:10, so for like the next 45 minutes, we're going to catch up with things. Whatever else is on your mind from the weekend, whatever else is on your mind, period. We got to catch up with a bunch of different things. We've got a lot of news to get into. We have the other games in the playoffs from this past weekend. I know there were others to talk about. So we catch up on all of that. And then little after 10 o'clock, this one's really cool. Chattanooga FC continues their growth and their expansion, and they now have a new head coach. Club legend Juan Hernandez is going to be coaching the CFC women's team for the 2025 WPSL season. And so Coach Hernandez is going to be coming on with us at about 10 after, and then at 10:30 to wrap up the show, as he always does this time of year. It is Kaylor Hodges from the USL show, and we'll discuss how it was that 2 number 1 seeds are no longer with us when it comes to USL Championship. So that's the rundown. So we got news, we got stuff, we got things to talk about. Major League Soccer, we've got a bunch of news and other things that have gone down overnight, and then we'll get into all of that. And then so Juan Hernandez dropping by, the new head coach for CFC Women, about 10:10, and then at 10:30, Kaylor Hodges hiding in a room someplace, and he gets to talk about USL Championship for a half hour. I was on a break, and so that's Kaylor. So Kaylor will be on at 10:30 this morning, breaking down everything when it comes to all of that activity. So once again, thanks for dropping by this morning. Morning Four Card, morning Abby. So a couple of things we got to get into opening kickoff. Bart is in this morning, and it's weird. Apparently, when Bart's in the real world, he can't follow on like other social media, so he has to watch on the YouTube channel. And Bart was busy yesterday doing real world things, and so here's his profound apology Brad should have been called up, and Suarez deserved no fewer than 3 yellow cards on Saturday. Have a great Tuesday. So there you go. That's Bart's quick rundown of what happened with Messi and friends and Atlanta United. Campana should have gotten a red for what he did as well, and Luis Suarez was Luis Suarez. So once again, it's a day that ends in Y. All right, so couple of things to get into with opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you who are dropping by this morning, thanks for coming on with us. I forgot to turn on my glance LED board to let you know what's going on around the planet, too. So that is your QR code to start things off with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout, because then when you check out and use the code SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off of your price. Then they in turn take 10% reinvested youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, if you were, say, a player in a league, and you kind of, and I'll phrase it this way, I'll phrase it like this. If you were in a, how do we phrase? If you were in a situation where your team was kind of stuck and you had a dude come on to your team and kind of work out for a little while and, do all of the workouts, and the guy played like a minute. He played a minute and then he was done. How would you feel that it was kind of seemingly like a publicity stunt kind of thing? If I was a player, I'd be pretty pissed. Safe to say, the folks at one particular club in the LPF, the Argentine League, they were kind of bent out of shape about what happened over the weekend. Ivan Bohajaruk, better known as Spreen, played less than a minute in Deportivo Riestra's 1-1 draw with Vélez Sarsfield. So you had a social media influencer in a league match on Monday. And the players were pretty pissed off because, it's a match, didn't even touch the ball in the minute. And I can understand why. It's like, why is this dude out here? I'm not passing the ball to him. Bohajaruk, apparently, he's popular in streaming in Argentina. And I have never seen anything that he streamed. And Spreen sounds like a body part to me. Something internal that you hope that you don't damage. Bohajaruk apparently has 8 million subscribers on YouTube and more than 5 million followers on Instagram. He was signed by Deportivo Riestra 2 months ago, started training with the team last Tuesday. So he was signed about a month ago, and he'd had like 4 or 5 practices. And then Deportivo Riestra decided to start him in a match against Vélez Sarsfield. And he lasted a minute, and then they subbed him out. So basically, you burn a sub, you start him in the lineup, he plays a minute, then you burn a sub. Players were hot. Vélez striker Brian Romero, who scored in a PK in the 43rd minute to open the scoring, quote, "What happened today was a lack of respect for football. It is a wrong message to society, to kids who try hard. Football is not that. It is trying and failing and trying again." Deportivo Riestra execs defended the stunt as a push for their main sponsor, an energy drink company. Deportivo Riestra's Nicolas Caro Torres equalized in the 63rd minute. Its captain, Milton Chelis, told journalists that the idea came from Victor Stinfale, who owns the club and the energy drink company that sponsors the front of the jersey. He signed both the influencer and the team's coach. Asked about Bohajaruk's skills, the captain, Milton Chelis, said, "As a streamer, he's number one." Deportivo Riestra's coach, Christian Fabiani, said he had informed his Vélez Sarsfield colleague Gustavo Quinteros about the move. Fabiani said, quote, I told him that he was going to play due to a contract issue that the club depends a lot on publicity. Fabiani said that Monday's game was Buhayuruk's debut and farewell match. Vélez leads the Argentine league with 43 points. Deportivo Riestra is in ninth with 31. And remember, this year, I do not think that there is any kind of promotion and relegation in the Argentine league because of the conversation that we had with our buddy Nino Torres last Thursday about whoever the head of the Fed and their team being last. And so, this year we're not going to have promotion relegation, so that you don't have promotion relegation. But anyway, you had a streamer, better known as Spreen, Ivan Buhayuruk, start for Deportivo Riestra, play a minute, and then he gets subbed out. So I'm hoping they thought it was worth it, and I'm also hoping that and they ought to be thankful that there is no promotion and relegation this year. Because if it had come down to Riestra having a horrendous season and they lose by like a point or something, or a point or two, and you could come back to this particular moment and go, well, if we hadn't started Spreen against Vélez Sarsfield and had gotten the win instead of a 1-1 draw, then maybe we would have stayed up. But Deportivo Riestra escapes playing and starting Spreen after a minute. A minute. We started Spreen. Congratulations. Good on you. You made it. You escaped. So that's what we're coming down to sometimes. Sometimes you end up with a dude. It's like, I own this club and I own the energy drink company that's the main sponsor. You're going to start my guy. Obviously, if the coach wants to stay employed, you're going to continue to do that. But anyway. Yes, Abby, it was a tremendously beautiful QR code because she created it. Because remember the QR codes that I was responsible for that really sucked? Abby created that for me. And so that's our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So that is opening kickoff. If you, once again, the lesson is, if you own the club and you own the sponsor, you get Spreen. That happened over the weekend. Once again, that's the QR code right there. QR code for Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee. See what I did there? Then what you do, you hit that QR code. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. One other thing to get into. I don't know if you saw this last week, but our friends at Grady Baby and Jason got together, and they've created a couple of things in the clothing lines to help benefit middle school soccer in the Atlanta area. This is the hoodie. There's a matching T-shirt, and it's both in the red and the black involving Atlanta United. Soccer's just better in Atlanta. And the proceeds of these sales of this particular gear goes to help out and grow middle school soccer in Atlanta public schools. So you go to our friends at Grady Baby. I think it's gradybabyco.com. But if you do a Grady Baby search, Grady Baby apparel, then you go and you check out this line of clothing. Soccer is just better in Atlanta. And our friends at Grady Baby are collaborating with us, and proceeds go to help out middle school soccer with Atlanta Public Schools. Right there, Grady Baby Co. Soccer is just better in Atlanta. You can buy the gear and make it happen. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Grady Baby, in addition to everything else that is going on that is there. So you've got all of that as well. One of the things that I wanted to get into this morning, in addition to all of the other things that are going on with all the other playoff games and things like that, we have an update, and it was posted yesterday. Roman Chouet from CBC News. Headline out of Montreal: details emerge of Canada Soccer's obsessed culture of drone spying. Shuey had this come out yesterday with the CBC, after we were off the air. And this is the copy from Shuey. Canadian soccer coaches with both the men's and women's teams were so obsessed, in quotation marks, with obtaining information about their opponents that they would pressure employees to take part in spying activities, according to Radio Canada. Spying activities pervasive years before coaches were caught using a drone to spy on an opponent during the 24 Paris Olympics, according to new information obtained by Radio Canada's Enquête. Over the past few months, Radio Canada spoke to around 20 former players, managers, agents, coaches, and employees with links to Canada Soccer. Radio Canada is not revealing their identities because they all fear professional reprisals. The sources said that what happened in France when a Canada Soccer employee affiliated with the women's national team was caught flying a drone over a New Zealand team practice is, quote, just the tip of the iceberg, end quote. The sources described a culture of spying inside the organization that dates back years to when John Herdman coached the women's national team. Canada Soccer suspected it was Herdman who started using drones to spy on opponents, according to statements submitted to FIFA by the Court of Arbitration for Sport by Canada Soccer. Multiple sources said the coaches of the men's national team had been using drones for spying purposes since Herdman took over in 2018, continuing practices he'd used in the past. Radio Canada sources also said he passed the practice down to Bev Priestman, his successor, who's currently suspended, awaiting the results of an independent review commissioned by Canada Soccer into drone spying of the organization. The results of that review are expected to be shared with the public this week. Put a bookmark in that. Bev, in quotations, Bev, quote, worked with John and he was a mentor to her, said one former member of the Canadian women's team. Drones were an essential part of her preparation, end quote. Herdman began coaching the women's team in 2011, led him to back-to-back bronze in the 12 and 16 Olympics. During the time, Bev Priestman was one of his assistants. She became coach of the national women's team in 2020, earning them a gold medal in the 21 Tokyo Games. The former player, so now we know what it is a former player, said drones were, quote, systemic, and Priestman was obsessed with having information about her opponent, end quote. Herdman moved on to oversee the men's team in 2018, including the national team. Only a few months after Herdman became coach of the men's national team in November 2018, sources told Radio Canada he'd had the national team spy on St. Kitts and Nevis, whose national team had never qualified for the FIFA World Cup. You're spying on St. Kitts and Nevis. Quote, they were fishermen, one source said. When we found out, we were laughing amongst ourselves. The people in the organization who knew about it found it absurd, end quote. Sources said other teams were also spied on, including Honduras, but their sports federations did not respond to Enquête's questions. According to Radio Canada sources, drones were also used to spy on opponents of Canadian youth national teams. Radio Canada attempted to reach John Herdman through his employer. I mean, it's due diligence, but Toronto FC is not going to sit there and go, yeah, we'll let you talk to Herdman. That'll work. Did not respond to questions. In a news conference at the end of July, Herdman denied using drones during major sporting events while he was coach. Yeah, do you remember? I never thought that I would be in a position where I could run this again. Did I hang? Yeah, I did. Okay. We'll go back to July 26. July 26 of this year, John Herdman, courtesy of, I want to say this is TSN.
John, I have to ask you a question on another topic. As you know, Canada Soccer is in the spotlight for alleged actions at the Olympics. I know you're no longer involved with Canada Soccer, but Kevin Blue today cited a systematic ethical shortcoming. And I wonder if you could tell us how prevalent you think spying is in world football, and during your time as Canada coach, were you a victim of it, or did you take part in it?
Yeah, I mean, I arrived back late last night from the Olympics. Had the chance to watch my boy play and obviously celebrate that moment with him. And it reminds you again how hard players work to get to that moment, the sacrifices they make with them and their families. It's certainly a big moment. So landing to that news was a surprise and a shock. I think firstly, I'm devastated for the players. I think we have to, moments like this, respect that they've put some work in to be there. I've been a head coach of a team that's competed for medals, won medals, and those players need the spotlight on their talents at this moment in time. This isn't a time to sort of nitpick about scouting at tournaments. I think, whatever's happened, I think Canada Soccer are going to be conducting their internal reviews, which is the right thing to do. I'll be happy to help them with that process for sure, to tell them about the experiences we had in our competitions, etc. But for me, this is about the players. We're really putting spotlight on something that isn't, what this Olympics is about, which is their talent and their moment to shine. And I think the quicker we get back there, the better.
I think that's why it is news, though, because it is taking place at the Olympics. I'm just wondering if you can give us your thoughts on how prevalent you think this kind of thing is in world football.
Yeah, I think, I'll go through that process with Canada Soccer. I think anything I say now, it's just going to bring more spotlight to this situation. As I say, I'd like the spotlight to be back on our players as quickly as we can. For me, the integrity of the review is important. And if I'm asked to contribute, I'll be there. I think everyone will be aware of situations from, previous coaches, etc., that have been public. I think there's things in the public domain that, these things have happened before. But for me, I'm happy to help Canada Soccer in any way I can. But I would say I just want this to be about the players. I really feel for them. They have a game tomorrow, and knowing what it's like in those environments, there's enough pressure as it is. They just need to be able to focus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But can you say whether or not you had knowledge of or involvement in any type of drone use or spying during your time?
Yeah, I mean, I come back to the question, which is, this isn't Olympic Games. It's the biggest event on the planet. It's a sporting event that has massive integrity. And for me, we have to make sure that those things are upheld always. I've always gone into Olympic Games, World Cups, big events with integrity in mind and the ability to compete at the highest level following the rules and processes. So, from my side, as I say, I'll help Canada Soccer where I can with that review. But I'm highly confident that in my time as a head coach at an Olympic Games or World Cup, we've never been involved in any of those activities.
I'm highly confident that in my time as a head coach at an Olympic Games or World Cup, we've never been involved in any of those activities. A drone pilot responsible for spying on several occasions has also turned down Radio Canada's request for comment, saying, quote, they're not in a position to speak. Sources told Radio Canada, Canada Soccer has asked its employees and other people tied to the scandal not to comment on the subject. Sources told Radio Canada they face strong pressure from Canada Soccer's top coaches to take part in spying. No wasn't an option, said a former player on the men's national team. John Herdman, quote, John Herdman put his staff under a lot of pressure. If his assistants refused, they were put aside. You could be blacklisted, which would change your entire career, said another former player. Copy continues. If they didn't spy, their career wouldn't progress. Another trainer who still works with Canada Soccer told Radio Canada the use of drones became, quote, institutionalized within Canada Soccer, said a source who worked with John Herdman. Quote, he would tell us that he used them all the time for his team, notably to film their own training sessions, the source said, but it was a daily tool for him, a great pedagogical tool and useful for progress, end quote. Former player, quote, someone should have stood up to say that's enough. It's difficult for the players and members of the staff, but someone higher up should have stood up. According to multiple sources, Canada Soccer executives knew about drone use. Among the documents submitted by Canada Soccer to FIFA was an email between Priestman and an analyst dated March 2024 regarding spying. Quote, as discussed yesterday, in terms of the spying conversation, I came off the meeting with clarity that you understood my reason for me being unwilling to do this moving forward, wrote the analyst, whose identity is redacted by FIFA. Priestman then forwarded the message to a Canada Soccer employee to receive advice on the analyst's rejection of the practice. Quote, "It's something the analyst has always done," wrote Priestman, adding that the practice, quote, "can be the difference between winning and losing, and all top 10 teams do it," end quote. Some sources tell Radio Canada all players weren't necessarily aware of their team spying, though some had suspicions. Quote, "On the eve of certain games, we would show reports to the players saying, here's what the opposing team does, here's what will happen," end quote, shared a former player. "Players can be naive. We're not breaking our brains to figure out how we obtain the video," end quote. "It's rare to tell your boss you're not okay with their values. You work, you do your job." And that's from Romain Chouet from Radio Canada at CBC. So keep an eye on the end of this week and the release of that particular report. So we will see what happens involving the drone scandal and Canada Soccer. Bart, so there are a bunch of cheaters up there in the Great White North? D. Graham, I think it was definitely prevalent. He referred to it as scouting, not spying. That tells me enough. He doesn't believe he did anything wrong. And that, once again, it goes to the semantics of the argument and the implementation of the device. But you would think, and I get Honduras. You know, I get Honduras. But St. Kitts and Nevis? St. Kitts and Nevis, really? I feel like legitimately. Really? I mean, St. Kitts and Nevis, really? I mean, that was definitely a Seth and Amy kind of a really. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. That's all we're going to say at the moment. And then I know we're kind of whiplashing around here, but news out of FC Cincinnati this morning. Marco Angulo passed away yesterday after a battle with the injury sustained in a car accident last month. FC Cincinnati releases a statement. "We are deeply saddened by the loss of Marco, a husband and father, brother and son, friend and teammate. He was a joyful, kind young man who lit up every room he entered. Our entire club grieves this tragedy, and we're thinking and praying for his family. He was a cherished member of the FC Cincinnati family. He'll be missed." Marco is survived by his wife and young son. He was 22 years old. So Marco Angulo, it is announced by the club that he passes away from injuries sustained in a car accident. Laurel Failer, who we have bookmarked as someone that you should follow when it comes to everything there. 22-year-old had been playing on loan at LDU Quito this season, involved in a single car crash on a highway in Quito October 7, and passes away 35 days later. According to reports from Ecuador, one of 5 people in the car crashed into a metal structure, and he is the third fatality in the accident. 24 league appearances for FC Cincinnati last year in his first season with the club after he was acquired from Independiente del Valle during the offseason ahead of the 23 Supporters Shield campaign. Began his career at Independiente Juniors in his native Ecuador before joining Independiente. LDU Quito acquired Angulo on loan in March, 20 appearances across all comps, including his last one on October 6. LDU Quito, in a statement, quote, "It is with profound pain and sadness that we bring you the news of the death of our player Marco Angulo. We extend our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones. His departure is an irreparable loss that will leave an indelible mark on our hearts. May he rest in peace," end quote. So news this morning, horrific, sad news this morning out of the FC Cincinnati. The FC Cincinnati family when it comes to the news involving Marco Angulo. So there's that this morning as well. Also, once again, remember that we've got all of the other stuff going on, all the other games. Just to kind of recap what's been going on involving Major League Soccer, we're down to the Final Four in each conference. It is NYC and Red Bulls. So you have Hudson River on one side of the right-hand bracket. You have on the other side, obviously, Atlanta. And you have Atlanta knocking off Inter Miami. You have NYC winning 6-5 in PKs over FC Cincinnati. And you had Red Bulls advancing as well. So it is NYC and Red Bulls. Red Bulls taking their time, kind of keeping an eye on everything since they knocked off Columbus in 2 in a row. So this past weekend, LAFC knocks off Vancouver 1-0 in the round 3, the match day 3 and the best of 3. LAFC advances. NYC, it took to the 9th frame for NYCFC to win 6-5. Orlando wins 4-1 on PKs after tying at 90 minutes 1-1 in their best of 3. So you end up with the finals 4, or the finals 4, final fours. Hudson River 6-7, and it's going to be at Citi Field, by the way. We know apparently it's going to be at Citi Field. Not Yankee Stadium, but at Citi Field. And that is because it's the 6, and they didn't want to have it at Red Bull Arena, I guess, because then it would be a home game for the 7 seed, even though you could have had a home game for the 6 seed. So winner of Hudson River plays winner of Atlanta United and the purple team. And then out west, it's LA and Seattle, the 1, the 4, LAG hosting Minnesota, the 2 and the 6. So the 23rd. So we've got a little bit of time, a whole 11 days before all this starts back up again with the international window. NYC and Red Bulls at 5:30 Saturday afternoon, the 23rd. Nightcap, LAFC hosting Seattle on the 1-4. Sunday, it's Atlanta and Orlando, 3:30 in Central Florida on Sunday the 24th. SDH will be there. And it is LAG at 6 o'clock hosting Minnesota. The Loons as the 6, the only non-chalkish group that's going to be playing in the Western Conference. So it is Minnesota, the 6 seed, going to LAG, the 2 seed. So that's where you are involving Major League Soccer on the weekend. Shea. It's going to be at Shea. Citi Field, they are the sponsor, but Shea Stadium if you don't have Citi as a sponsor. So it's attached to any of your stuff. So it's going to be at Citi Field, and you've got Citi Field, you've got Central Florida, you've got Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, and you've got BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. So that's where you're going to be the 23rd and the 24th. And obviously, SDH will be there, and all of the other the current projected temperature for the OFYO match, 70 degrees. Yes, Derek, absolutely true. It's called a field that rhymes with city. Yes, absolutely true. It compares to that particular rhyme. So there you go. And you are absolutely true. It rhymes with city. And Hutch, morning Hutch. Apropos of absolutely nothing, always loved Chipper Jones for naming his daughter Shay. Yeah. I always have this Kevin McGlinchey flashback of Shea Stadium involving Atlanta United in the postseason. This morning on 92.9 The Game, if you follow Mike Conti on the Twitters, probably should dial, see if you can find this particular segment. Fascinating interview this morning with Garth on 92.9 The Game. He said Atlanta United, quote, wasn't going to win anything, end quote, with, quote, some of the personalities, end quote, they had at the start of the season, hence the changes. He says Rob Valentino is still a candidate for the head coaching job. So, and it was players specifically that Garth was referencing, according to Mike. And the interview will be posted to 92.9 The Game shortly. So 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Keep an eye on that particular posting of the interview that Garth had on the morning show. So, some of the personalities, you weren't going to win anything with some of the personalities they had at the start of the season, hence the changes. Kind of reminiscent of a particular moment that we saw. And like I said, and I do not have the math to get to this particular conclusion. But if you will remember a press conference of an individual who departed the club this past season, the earlier part of the season, regular season, and that particular player wasn't a fan of Major League Soccer. I've got that also in our board. Not going to play it right now. But nevertheless, somebody like that is not too high on Major League Soccer. Said that in his first press conference for his new club. Garth Lagerwey, referencing players, quote, Atlanta United wasn't going to win anything with some of the personalities they had at the start of the season, hence the changes, meaning players, not coaches. So, yes, Derek, it was that particular individual. Yes, I do have that sound. No, I'm not going to play it, although I am hanging on to it. So keep an eye out for 92.9 The Game, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, 92.9thegame.com for that interview with Garth Lagerwey from 92.9 The Game this morning. And literally what happened with a particular individual. So now you know why he was allowed to leave for a price tag. So once again, keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on those kinds of things. Hutch, beware of Greeks bearing grudges. Oh, boy. Oh, man. Let's take a quick tour through all of the news this morning. Let's see. You had 8 players pull out of the England squad here in the recent international window. Saka and Palmer among 8 players pulled out of the England squad with injuries for the Nations League fixtures this month. Saka, Palmer, Colwill, Foden, Grealish, Alexander-Arnold, Ramsdale, and Declan Rice unavailable for matches against Greece and Ireland. Injury exodus has seen Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers handed a first-ever call-up. Tino Livramento and James Trafford have been added to the squad, along with Jared Bowen and Jared Branthwaite. Saka went down with a leg injury in the latter stages of the draw with Chelsea before being withdrawn. Declan Rice started at Stamford Bridge, despite sources telling the 4-letter he had a broken toe. He was subbed by Mikel Merino in the 71st minute. Arsenal's Mikel Arteta said that both injuries, quote, don't look good. There had been doubts over Cole Palmer's involvement in Sunday's clash due to injury concerns. While he played the full 90 minutes, the performance was largely subdued. Alexander-Arnold went off clutching his hamstring in the first half of Liverpool's win over Villa. Arne Slot saying post-match the injury was, quote, not a good sign. Low-grade injury keep him out for around 2 weeks, according to the 4-letter. Grealish's withdrawal doesn't come as a surprise, given his last match for Manchester City came on October 20. His selection to the original squad drew consternation from Pep Guardiola, who said Lee Carsley hadn't consulted him before picking the forward. The upcoming set of fixtures will be Carsley's last in charge of England before the arrival of Thomas Tuchel. So that intriguing to say the very least. It's like, here's some selections. Well, dudes are injured. Okay, well, all right, dudes are injured. So was that smart? Probably not. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we catch up with the new head coach for Chattanooga FC women, Juan Hernandez, coming up in a handful of minutes. Barcelona keeping close tabs on Eintracht Frankfurt striker Omar Marmoush, according to Sport. Joan Laporta sees him as a statement signing that would excite the fans as well as a future replacement for Lewandowski. Previous reports have indicated that an offer worth 45 million euro would be required to land the Egypt international. Talks ongoing between Real Madrid and the reps for Aymeric Laporte, according to Eduardo Burgos. Los Blancos keen to sign him in January as Ancelotti looks to reinforce his depleted defense. Then there's some distance over Laporte's salary demands, which need to be lowered for the Bernabeu hierarchy to make an official approach. AS claimed Madrid had ruled out making an emergency signing in January to compensate for their defensive injury crisis, branding the winter market, quote, expensive and unreliable. Real Madrid will make 4 signings to strengthen their squad, according to Diario AS. Won't come until next summer. Newspaper names Alexander-Arnold, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan Tah as 3 free transfers Madrid would like to land in the summer of 2025, while Leverkusen playmaker Florian Wirtz would be a more expensive addition. Bayern Munich set to challenge Madrid for the signing of Jonathan Tah, according to Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Bundesliga club hopeful of landing the 28-year-old on a free when his contract expires next summer. watching his situation closely with belief Los Blancos could make an approach when the transfer window opens in January. Christopher Nkunku set to consider his future in January amid interest from Manchester United, according to the Telegraph. Red Devils have held interest in him since the summer. Having failed to secure regular first-team minutes under Enzo Maresca, he could be open to leaving Stamford Bridge. Arrived at Chelsea from RB Leipzig in June of 23. Seen 9 of his 10 Premier League appearances come from the bench. Another defender being linked with Real Madrid is Mario Hermoso, the former Atletico Madrid center back, on Madrid's radar since excelling with Roma last summer. Negotiations ongoing between AC Milan and Teo Hernandez over a new contract. He wants to sign a long-term extension at the San Siro, but his reps are looking for a substantial salary increase. According to Calcio Mercato, his deal runs through the summer of 26. Juve in pole position to sign Jonathan David from Lille when his contract expires next summer. 24-year-old, 13 and 19 matches. Also linked with Inter Milan, Liverpool, and Manchester United. United considering offering a contract to Danilo at Juve. 33-year-old defender who previously played for Manchester City is a free agent at the end of the season. Juve could look to get a transfer fee for their captain in January rather than see him walk away. Midfielder Arthur Vermeeren is close to saying goodbye forever to Atletico Madrid after already having been involved in 13 games for RB Leipzig this season, with the Bundesliga club having an obligation to make his loan permanent if he plays, quote, a relatively low number of games. Neymar says he's happy in Saudi Arabia amid talk he could leave Al Hilal out of contract next summer. Santos president Marcelo Teixeira says he has a concrete project for Neymar to return to the club in 25, according to ESPN Brazil. Spurs will rebuff any offer from Real Madrid for center back Christian Romero when the transfer window opens. The report says that Spurs are desperate to keep the 26-year-old who has a contract which runs until the summer of 2027. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. After Kaler, we've got to go over what happened in the NCAA, look at the tournament matchups, and keep an eye on all of that. Today, very light right now, anyway, when it comes to conference matchups. In the Patriot League, you've got 2 games going on at 6 and 7 on the plus. It is American and Bucknell and Colgate and Boston University. So that is college soccer that is going on right now on the 12th. A lot of college soccer that is going to be happening over the next couple of days with conferences and bids and things like that, and bids and conferences, all of that stuff. So in an international window, ain't a whole lot going on. You've also got the Women's Champions League resuming. Gold TV has Deportivo Maldonado and Racing at 5 o'clock. You can catch Gold TV. Teise, Nuestra Tele, for the fans. Gold TV, all the BNs at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out them, helps out us, helps out you become a true degenerate. Ask Jason, he got me hooked, I blame him. DAZN USA has the quadruple header, or 4 matches. It's a back-to-back double headers. 2 at 12:45, Barcelona and St. Pölten. Juve and Arsenal. Arsenal has the first match for their interim manager. Bayern Munich and Vålerenga at 3, along with Manchester City and Hammarby. So 5 matches, 4 of them are Women's Champions League, Uruguayan Primera, and a couple of matches in college soccer with college soccer tournaments going forward. So that's all of the activity of what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it as we go here this morning. So once again, keep an eye out at 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app for the conversation that Garth Lagerwey had this morning in discussing players and their, how do we phrase this, resident attitudes. So Land United wasn't going to win anything with some of the personalities they had at the start of the season. There you go. Kaylee Kurtz and Ashley Sanchez, we mentioned the NWSL. Defender and midfielder finalists at their respective positions. Voting is open through Friday for the end-of-season awards. Sophia Smith was named a finalist for NWSL MVP. So keep an eye out on all of that. So full transcription. Here's Garth this morning on the Steakhouse. Quote, look, we were not going to win anything with that group. With the personalities in that locker room and the mentality that we had, we were not going to win any titles, and we knew it. And so we wanted to maximize the resources we could take out of that group, and that's when we moved on from some players. At the end of the day, we got in, we have a chance, and now we're taking advantage of it with a group that believes in itself and is much better put together, and that's a real credit to Rob Valentino and his staff and the players. Paragraph. We had some folks who weren't committed to being in Atlanta long-term. It's as simple as that. And they were looking for their next move. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of pro sports. There's no emotion behind that. but they didn't want to be here long term. So to get guys here who were committed. That's the full quote from the Steakhouse this morning, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. Okay, now we're moving. All right, it is officially 10 after 10. And so now it is time to catch up with someone who gets to add something to a business card. You know how we always have business cards and it's got like titles and things and contact info and things like that. We get to catch up with Chattanooga Football Club legend Juan Hernandez, because he gets to add something to the business card, and it is head coach Chattanooga FC Women. Coach, good morning. Hey, Hayes, what's going on? I'm seeing you there first. What's going on?
Hey, not too much. How are you?
Doing all right. We're waiting for a coach to pop in. Yeah.
Waiting for him to pop in. Yes, he'll be here momentarily.
All right. So I will put you back in the waiting room, and then when I see it's a three-way dance, we will bring Coach on and we will discuss things.
All right. Perfect. Thanks,
cool.
John.
No worries. That's Hayes Creech, by the way. Hayes does amazing work with our friends at Chattanooga FC. He is the major domo of media relations. So anything that goes on when it comes to all of the things that go on with Chattanooga FC. If you missed it, by the way, it is an interview with Dr. Sebastian Giraldo, and he is now the new technical director at Chattanooga FC. And so it is an opportunity for him to kind of talk about his idea for what he's looking for when it comes to the new ideas for Chattanooga FC across the board. Remember the conversation that we had with Atlanta United's director of methodology, Javier Perez? Same kind of a thing now with Dr. Giraldo. So Dr. Perez with Atlanta United, Dr. Giraldo with Chattanooga FC, and the interview there with Dr. Giraldo, the new technical director for all of the activity there at Chattanooga FC. That's up. It's also on our YouTube channel. It's up on the app. And so you can sit there and navigate, which if you want to watch it, you can watch it. If you want to listen to it, you can listen to it. So it's on the app and it's on Spreaker. So speaker with an R in the middle, or R, sorry, it's a mirror. So Spreaker with an R in the middle, you do a search for Soccer Down Here, and then you get the chance to hang out and listen to all of that, all the interviews there. So new technical director at Chattanooga FC. They've also got a new head coach on the women's side, club legend, Juan Hernandez. Now we bring Juan in to discuss things. I guess I get to say, Coach, welcome to the morning show. Congratulations on the new gig.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited.
And let me ask you this. When it came to the idea of, okay, yeah, I want to chase this, I want to pursue it, I want to be the head coach on the women's side, how much thought did you put into this, or was this an absolute no-brainer for you?
Well, I mean, even when I was playing, I always knew I wanted to be a coach. So for me, being a coach was always on my mind, always on my future vision. Helping the women's team for the past couple of years as an assistant reinforced that feeling and that thought of wanting to become a coach. So once this opportunity came, like you said, it was a no-brainer. I'm really excited to be part of this club, and I'm really excited to continue to help the club in a new way now. So,
what have you learned about yourself as a coach that you didn't necessarily know about yourself when you were a player? How different are you as a person now that you're in the coaching part of things, now that you're no longer playing?
It's different. It's different for sure, because when you're playing, you get to control a lot of what happens on the field, and you get to also relieve and enjoy, playing is always a lot of fun and a lot of joy. And as a coach, one thing that I learned as a player is I try to transmit that joy of the game into the players so they can play freely and with joy and with passion, which I think it's really important to teach players, especially the younger ones, to enjoy and love the game, because at the end of the day, that's what makes or break it on the long term. So
when you take a job like this, what is it that you are most looking forward to as being head coach? And what do you think your biggest challenge is going to be as head coach?
The thing that I look forward the most is to be able to implement my ideas, my concepts, the way I see the game, and teach that to players that are looking to play professional. That's the kind of players that we're looking to have. So for me, having that experience to play professional, to play at a high level, to know how to do all of that with a big passion for the game, that is the thing I'm most excited about. Is how can I utilize everything that I have learned through my playing experience and my coaching education and coaching experience, and transmit this to the players. The biggest challenge I see, which to be honest, I don't anticipate it being that big of a challenge, but it would be at first to get the players to buy into all of that, right? The players have to look at me as the head coach and believe in everything I'm trying to do and I'm saying. And that always takes some time, especially as a new head coach. But I am not new in the sport. I'm not new in the coaching world. So that at first might be probably the biggest challenge, get the players to buy in right away, especially on such a short season.
And you're the all-time assist leader for the club, 127 matches and 8 seasons at CFC. For someone who didn't get to see you play, how would you describe how you want the team to express itself when you get to the WPSL season? You know, when someone drops by Finley and they see what's going on, how would you best describe how you want the players to express themselves on a match-by-match basis?
I want my players to have joy, to have energy. That feeling that when you go watch a team and you see this team is playing together, this team is working hard, this team is enjoying doing all those things together. That's what I want to see, with creativity, with some freedom. I think it's really important that players understand that that's my approach. It's all about finding the joy in the game, but doing all the right things in order to find that joy. And like I said, I think that reflects a lot on how I play. Was lots of energy, lots of moments on the ball, lots of creativity, and I would say some sort of a direct game. I want my team to feel free to go up, to create chances, to go to goal, and to be brave. So that's kind of how I would describe the team, how they will play, and all of it will also translate into people that are watching the hooligans, because I want them to feel that and I want them to be part of that.
And at the same time, you're going to stay in your role as the academy girls director there at CFC. You get to kind of keep an eye on the players that are working their way up through the system. How excited is it for you to be able to see the growth of the game on more than one level with that WPSL team there with CFC women, and then continue to see things through the academy, where the academy might have some impact with that WPSL team too? You get to kind of see it in two different directions here.
Yeah, I think there's a beautiful side of my job there, is to be able to help create a platform that is gonna put young players into that first team. Last year we have 3 examples of players that there were actually more than 3. There were 8 academy players participating on the WPSL, but we have 3 players that scored their first goal just coming straight from academy into the women's team and scored their first goal ever. So it is really exciting to see that, and I just think that's just the beginning. We are doing a really good job in our girls and women's platform, and we still need to continue to grow it in a much bigger direction. But being part of that will help me also as a coach, because I know what we have underneath us, and I know the needs of what the academy needs to do in order to take players to the first team.
Juan Hernandez, the new coach for the Chattanooga FC women's side that's going to be playing in the WPSL in 2025. The WPSL season is a sprint. I mean, it is something where you jump in, you've got to literally, it's like being out there on the freeway at 75 and 24, and you got to hop on the freeway quick, and you got you got to mash that gas pedal and you've got to be ready. I mean, it's got to take a special kind of a player and a lot of patience, I would think, on your part, where you got to do something quick. You've got to have players who come in quickly, and it's going to be a different kind of a challenge this WPSL season, even though you've got the academy there as a base to help you out, yeah?
Yes, it will be. It will definitely be a challenge. Like I said before, that's probably the challenge I anticipate the most is how quickly can we get there. I'm confident because I will be surrounded by excellent coaches with me. One of them will be announced soon, but I am really excited for that announcement. She will be an incredible help. I will not say who it is. She will be an incredible help. I cannot take that from my front office. I'm sorry, but she will be an incredible help. So it's not just that I'm excited to be part of it. I'm also really excited that I'll be surrounded by people equally or higher level than me. So I think what makes a big team is having people with really big expertise on different areas, and I know we're gonna have that on the coaching staff. So.
How have your early conversations been with Dr. Giraldo? Sebastian Giraldo is the new technical director there at CFC. What have your early conversations been like with him, and what do you anticipate liking the most about this new relationship that you have?
So since he arrived, we have had a really good relationship, mainly because he was my direct boss when he was the director of coaching for the academy. So he was my direct supervision, and I was going to him for a lot of knowledge, for a lot of feedback. He has great experience in all areas of the game, so I don't anticipate anything of that changing, as he will now be also my direct supervisor again as me as the head coach and him as the technical director. So the relationship has been fantastic since day one, and I anticipate that it will continue to do so because I look at him as a great mentor for me and as a person that can guide me to be a better head coach.
Another couple of minutes here with Chattanooga FC club legend Juan Hernandez, who is now adding new head coach Chattanooga FC women's franchise in WPSL to the business card. And their season starts sooner than anybody's probably going to realize. It's like, yeah, the season's over there, but it's really not. It's going to come up pretty quickly. For someone who hasn't been as ingrained in Chattanooga as you have with your playing days and now your coaching days, how has Chattanooga grown as a soccer community and as a hub there in that particular part of Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee? How has it grown over the time that you've been there, and what's it been like to see it grow?
It has been a great joy to see it grow and also to be part of that growth. I mean, our numbers are in the academy side, they keep growing. We hit records this year. We anticipate a lot more growth in the next couple of years with the addition of the MLS Next and other good news that we'll probably be sharing at some point. But it is really exciting to see the growth. The community trusts CFC a lot, and that is really important. And I think that is a big part of the growth is how much the community values and trusts CFC with their kids. That speaks a lot, right? When somebody comes to you and put their kids in your hands, that's a really important factor of trust. So, the feedback that we've been getting, especially because I'm overseeing the girls' side, especially on the girls' side, is really positive. So I anticipate a continuous growth on that side. And we're representing Chattanooga and we're representing Tennessee at the national level with multiple of our girls' teams. And that was not the case in the past. So it is really good to see that.
You mentioned adding assistants coming up in short order, and you know that if you ever want to break that news, you can always come back here on the show and let us know, and we could be the first folks to tell everybody who your assistant coaches are going to be. I know that as a coach, and now as a new head coach, you've got that to-do list somewhere. And I always like to ask folks that have new jobs this question. Where is your to-do list to get ready for the 2025 WPSL season? Where is that to-do list? Is it on a piece of paper somewhere? Is it in a Google Doc? And then what do you think, other than adding coaches to your staff, what do you think the next thing that you can cross off that list is to get ready for the 2025 season?
Yeah, so the first one is, like you said, adding the best people around me. That is the first and most important thing, is coaching staff. Then sit down together, have clear roles and responsibilities so we can work better as a team. Everybody of my coaching staff will be really important in some capacity. So that will be the next one. And obviously, one big important thing that we're already doing is finding the right players that will fit CFC culture, that will fit our playing style, that will fit the goals and ambitions that the club has. So that are the main things that I am working on right now. And obviously, as time comes, will be session plan, prioritization, and a lot of other components of the direct competitive side and training plans. But as it is right now, I would say first and most important, I need the best coaching staff possible, because even though the coaching side is a team effort, so that is my priority, is surround myself with people that are going to help me grow and that hopefully are better than me in some areas. So that is my first objective.
Has your phone blown up from players and coaches wanting to be a part of this ever since you were named head coach?
I will tell you, I'm extremely grateful for the support that I have had since the announcement. It has been overwhelming to see how much people have cared and accepted this decision in a positive way. So that is a lot of motivation that brings me a lot of motivation for sure. And yeah, there's been people reaching out, that's for sure. But mainly what I have had so far is congratulations.
Any players sit there and reach out and go, I want to be a part of this? Have players knocked on your door and it's like, yeah, that looks great?
Nobody has said that yet, but I think indirectly some players are already kind of like, hey, love that you're the head coach, things like that. So it will come. Players are still focusing on their college season. That's what they need to focus on right now. Playoffs for college are happening. So they need to enjoy that, finish as champions in their college, and then come with us and finish as champions with CFC Women.
There you go. Great to catch up with you, Coach. I can say this now, Coach. Juan Hernandez, the new head coach of Chattanooga FC Women. Thanks for dropping by the morning show. Congratulations. 4 days into your new gig. We're going to be keeping an eye on you. We'll catch up with you soon, Juan. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's Juan Hernandez. He's got a new gig on the business card. He's going to be the new head coach of he is the new head coach of Chattanooga FC Women, WPSL in 2025. So it's great to catch up with him there. He's got the new gig, and we'll obviously be keeping an eye on him with all of the work that we do in the WPSL. He's going into a tough division. I mean, that was a division that was trading haymakers for a good 15 rounds. It was a sprint, and it was a fun sprint for those of us to watch it and cover it. But it's going to be a tight division in the Southeast. A lot of fantastic talent in this particular part of the footprint. So very, very cool stuff there. Once again, Juan Hernandez, the new head coach for Chattanooga FC. So very, very cool stuff there. All right. Hot tag. Here we go. All right. So now it is that time where it is Tuesday. It is 10:30-ish, and it's time to catch up on the postseason for the USL Championship. And we get to ask Kaylor Hodges a question. And it's one of several questions that we'll ask as we bring Kaylor in as he's hiding. Did you say that you've got a meeting or something? Did you say I've got my normal 10:30 Eastern meeting? I have to go.
No need to say a meeting because everyone's just not here because we have Veterans Day off, so everybody's just took a longer vacation, so nobody needs me.
I see, that's the best way to get things squared away. So I'm going to go ahead and ask.
Yep.
How is it that 2 number 1 seeds got bumped out and we don't have any number 1 seeds anymore in the USL Championship playoffs?
New Mexico decided that finishing is for losers, and that Rhode Island, it's really good. I mean, it really just comes down to that. Rhode Island's really good. They didn't fear Louisville. They have all the confidence in the world, and they, you look at all the draws. We call them the draw kings. If even a few of those are turned into wins, they're a top 3 team in the East, and this is not a shocking result. This is a Eastern Conference final, not a semi. But on the West, I mean, come on now. I mean, New Mexico had so many chances. Las Vegas had one, and it was just a bad pass. Corey Bennett gets played through, finishes well. But I mean, New Mexico had every chance in the world. Raiko Rosarena played very well, but in all reality, New Mexico just could not put the ball on frame because Las Vegas gave them opportunities, and they just did not take them.
And, it goes back to the conversation that we had last week where Rhode Island was not intimidated by Lou City at all, just on general premise, considering what happened in the regular season, where I think they were on. It was the back end of a quick roadie where they had 2 matches in a couple of days. It was like midweek weekend, and they go to wrap up the roadie in Lou City and put 5 on them at Lynn Family. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I think it was the Charleston, then Tampa Bay, then Pittsburgh road trips. And then they had a couple players out, and then they go up 3 goals. Lou City chases it, get a couple back, but they ship it 2 more. And a lot of Louisville City fans will say, well, we didn't have our best players. We were exhausted, which is all fair. But any team that puts 5 on Louisville City in Louisville City is just going to have confidence next time they come around. And speaking of having confidence, I mean, JJ Williams is starting to look like the JJ Williams that the Crew drafted and Atlanta United signed later. I mean, he finally starts to look like that guy. I mean, he's playing with all the confidence in the world, and he's just hot as can be.
When you look at, obviously we'll spend time because League One is now at the last match of their season, but you look at Charleston and Tampa Bay in the East. Obviously, Rhode Island thumping Lou City was upper right, and I think a lot of brackets got blown up now. If they weren't blown up initially, then they're certainly blown up now. I don't know of anybody who's got a perfect bracket, and they might be a fib and fibber if they say that their bracket is perfect right now with this Final Four. But Tampa Bay and Charleston, and Charleston seems to be the only chalk, the only thing that is normal about this Final Four is that it's Charleston. I mean, you've got, and I think the battery's like, we're not giving up Nick Marcanic until we absolutely have to. So they just keep meeting before sending him over to Europe.
Charleston, I mean, they played really, really well. Really well. Playoff Jordan Farr is another animal. You'll sit there and say he gives up 2 goals or whatever. I mean, he made big save after big save that he shouldn't have made after save he shouldn't have made, but that's just because he is just in form, because in form Jordan Farr is like nobody else. That's why DC United's already signed him. But you look at how they played defensively, that you're really seeing where you're missing your star players. DeSantos and Allen over on that left-hand side, DeSantos at center back and not fullback. Arteaga and Jennings were taking them to the woodshed a little bit. And then second half, they figure it out. There's one chance, I think it was Cal Jennings has, and Grinwis saves. But other than that, Tampa Bay was on the back foot for so much of this match. And Charleston just kept overloading, win the ball back, create opportunity. You start to feel bad for Jordan Farr because he played so well. And you see the goal that Aaron Malloy scores, the free kick. And I wish the broadcast had a better angle of it, because it looks almost like you kind of look at it and you say Jordan Farr maybe didn't do the best there. And then you see the stands angle that someone recorded, posted out there, and you're like, oh, no one saves that. There's not a human on the planet that saves that. It took a wonder strike, a wonder goal to put them through, because Tampa Bay was playing well, but Charleston is just something else.
And you mentioned that, and while you're talking, I'm going to go see if I can find this this particular goal, so we can talk about it. But on the left-hand side out west, you're looking at, once again, a Vegas team that I don't think a lot of folks had making their way to this particular point of the season. And I don't think how many folks had a Vegas Colorado Springs Western Conference final in any conversation that you guys had with anybody else around the league. Who else had a 2-4 as the final in the Western Conference, legitimately?
Not well, it's funny because actually coming into the playoffs themselves, probably one of the more attractive picks. People were down on New Mexico entirely. People did not think of them as very good. I think a lot of people saw that if Sacramento lost to Las Vegas, a lot of people saw Las Vegas making it to the conference final. That's not the shocking part. I think that Colorado Springs coming into the season, I said so many times, and just spoilers, James Chambers was my coach of the year vote when I submitted, because Colorado Springs was the worst team in the league for me coming into the season, barring Miami. They're not real. What he's done is outrageous. And for me, that's the shock here, not Las Vegas. That's New Mexico was on the day the better team, but it doesn't matter. The scoreline's 1-0, and we're looking at Colorado Springs, Las Vegas. Colorado Springs, I mean, it's a disastrous start with a horrific header back to the goalkeeper that just should never happen. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if Christian Herrera asked for the ball to be headed back. I doubt it, because I mean, I don't know. And at that point, I'm thinking Orange County their way back into this, but Colorado Springs, they get their goal back, and then the extra time, both teams were just trading blows. It was just track meet after track meet after track meet, and it goes Colorado Springs' way, and really nice finish.
Sidebar, I finally did get the chance to see Aaron Malloy's strike, and I don't think there was any chance that that there was no way Jordan Farr was going to get it. I mean, it was picture perfect, and it just had enough of a work rate to it to where Jordan Farr, the only thing that could have maybe changed it is Farr timing his leap slightly better, but that's the only thing I can see here, because Malloy goes over Farr, and it goes far post, upper 90, and you've got maybe that much space to get it over the keeper and into the net with 10 minutes to go. So no, that was a profoundly well struck ball by Aaron Malloy to get the Duke there. And I wonder about Ikaza trying to jump the corner flag, and it didn't quite work. But that's just
did not work at all.
No,
not at all. It's funny because I'm just going to go ahead, eat crow, and call myself out, because there was a moment where I was talking about taking Malloy off free kicks, because I thought he was the second best free kick taker in the league, behind his teammate Juan David Torres. I thought Juan David Torres was the best free kick taker on that team. And I mean, don't get me wrong. For half of the free kicks, they do have Juan David Torres, depending on in swing, out swing, whatever side of the field they're on. I get it. But Aaron made me shut up. What am I? I'm an idiot. So
but hey, I mean, sometimes it takes moments like that to jumpstart folks, to remind them why they were in a particular position in the first place. But no, you end up with Colorado Springs, and the beginning of their season was horrific. I mean, it's that you wondered what was going on in Colorado Springs, because it was such an atypical start, and you worked their way through it. And now that we are in the Final Four, well, since we've talked about the West second, we'll go ahead and stick there. You got New Mexico United gone. You got, you look at the two in Colorado Springs, the three in Memphis, and that one was a match that went more than 90 minutes. And so, Orange County, they get that moment. and they end up getting the win over Memphis. Then Vegas, and we remind ourselves it's amazing what happens when you invest, and you actually do invest in a franchise, and not just in players, because you look at infrastructure at Cashman, you see how things are, and it is an entirely different vibe there in Las Vegas now with the player investment. And it looks like, I mean, yes, I know that it used to be a baseball stadium, but what they've done is they've done some really good infrastructure work to make it look like it is a converted facility, because they got light boards and everything. They've modernized Cashman at least a little bit to make it look like a place that's lived in, and not something that you're just kind of hanging out and going, yeah, I can't wait to check out of here.
Well, and I'm trying to remember when it was posted, but you can find it on Backheeled. Our good friend John Morrissey writes over there, and he had an interview with a lot of the people over there, like Richard Sanchez and the guys in the front office. And I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who was over at Venecia. And one of the things that he talked about, because famously Las Vegas did not have a team until like 2 weeks before the season started. They didn't sign anybody. It was like, I mean, one of our good friends, Phil Bakke, who's on the USL show, said himself, I want to see the 30 for 30. Someone needs to film this, because this is either going to end horrifically and we can laugh, or this is going to end awesome, and I want to see the story. And it's ending awesome. And one of the things that the GM and like Richard Sanchez both said was like, they would call players and say, hey, I am Richard Sanchez, I am whomever from the Las Vegas Lights, and players would laugh and hang up.
Wow.
Because no one wanted to go there. And for not even just we're going to be perennial losers, they're not going to invest in us. Just look at the pitch that Cashman was. Look at everything that Las Vegas was. I wouldn't be shocked if Las Vegas turns into a real hotbed, because players want to play there now. This is just the beginning for them. And if they continue to invest on the pitch the way that they have off the pitch, that's going to be a place that players want to go to. And I think this is just the beginning for Las Vegas.
Well, and I think that there was one move in particular where, and we do spend a lot of time in all the different divisions of the soccer pyramid. But for those that follow what's going on in Major League Soccer that are here in our footprint, when Vegas signed Edison Ascona away from Messi and friends for one of the largest transfer fees in league history, I was like, whoa, okay. So Joey Bats and the ownership group, they're blanking serious now that you brought in Edison Ascona from Inter Miami. Inter Miami was having their own salary issues, but the fact that you go to Inter Miami, you knock on their door, and you bring in Edison Ascona over, at least you're making the financial commitment, and everybody is sitting there saying, well, damn, okay, now you're not getting laughed at so much.
I think the moment I realized that they were serious was their first signing. Charlie Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie Adams is a legitimate USL superstar, was the guy in San Diego Loyal. People forget he was signed to Tulsa. The beginning of this year, he was a Tulsa player. He signed there, and everybody was like, whoa, Tulsa's serious. Then Gavin leaves, and there's this alleged, if the coach leaves, you can leave on a free kind of thing. But Charlie Adams left Tulsa, which, yes, baseball field, whatever, but are known in much higher regard than Las Vegas, to go to Las Vegas. They sold him on something that made him say, I'm going to lead a certainty for a question mark. That was my moment of, whoa, okay, this is real. Then you look at your Solomon Asantes. They go out to Greenville and they get your Smarts. They get Corey Bennett, who gets the game winner. I mean, Valentin Noel, he was a real guy in that Austin Academy, that there was a lot of teams vying for him because he did so well in that Austin Academy. I think that you can see a lot of pieces there that if you follow you follow the entire thing, you say these are real signings that a lot of teams tried to make, and Las Vegas beat them to the punch. It's not just savvy. It's not just money ball. It is money. And you saw, wow, they're splashing cash. They're real.
It's not money ball. It's money, comma, ball. I mean,
Yes.
it is entirely different. What does Zach Zandy mean to Colorado Springs now?
Everything. I mean, you see Zach Sandy. I mean, he gets the first goal in the 10th minute, then the second goal of the game, first goal for Colorado Springs, and then he gets the game winner, which I kind of put out on Twitter. Like, there has to be a real moment for if you score an extra time goal, it has to just hit like crack. I mean, that has to be an insane feeling. But Zach Zandy, he's a deeper lying player that he's kind of a cam. He's kind of a central midfielder. He kind of just does everything. And you see he doesn't have that many goals. He doesn't have that many assists, but that team goes as he goes.
Mm-hmm.
You also see Hanya, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Left winger for them. He's been unreal. He creates so much for this team. Enriquez is another player that just creates so much that you forget that this team doesn't have Malik Foster anymore. They have replaced Malik Foster, who was either was or was on the doorstep of being a mid-season all USL player at the USL show. And they've replaced him and are even better. And it's because they kind of let Zach Sandy just run the show, and it's so obvious.
And when you have the, when you've got, Ronaldo Damas, who we know from his time at Orange County, leading the only double-digit goal scorer that Colorado Springs has is Ronaldo Damas. Then you have Zach Zandy, Justin Dillon, Yosuke Hanya, Tyreek McGee, Jonas Fieldberg. I mean, you've got a lot of dudes Juan Tejada, who I didn't realize was a part of the Switchbacks roster. I mean, you've got a bunch of dudes who've contributed here. You've got 3, 6, 9, 10 different guys who've scored more than one goal for the leading offense in USL Championship, and only one guy that's in double digits. So, I mean, that to me anyway speaks to the balance of what Colorado Springs has been able to do now that everybody is healthy and has gotten them to this particular point of the season.
Well, you do see that, but I think you also have to remember that they did have Malik Foster, who was bona fide goal scorer for them at the beginning of the year. So a lot of those goals at the beginning of the year were via Malik Foster. I mean, he had like 5 goals, 5 assists for Colorado Springs. So that was a large chunk of those goals. But I mean, it's just coming from everywhere. You can't rely on just one guy to look at and say, well, if we just shut down Ronaldo Damas, that nothing else happens. I mean, Jonas Fieldberg he is one of the best finishers of the ball that we have out of the midfield. Zach Sandy, same thing. It comes from everywhere from them. And I think that's really what is so impressive about what James Chambers has done with this club.
When you look at this Final Four, and you see, okay, we're looking at things, and you look at this group. You've got a 4, you've got a 2, you've got a 2, and you've got a 5. So, if I had told you that going into the Final Four in USL Championship that you would have Vegas, Colorado Springs, Rhode Island, and Charleston, what would you have told me?
The West would not catch me completely off guard.
Yeah.
Honestly, neither would the East. Neither one of these really catch me off guard because, I mean, like we mentioned with Rhode Island, you flip a couple draws to wins, and they're a top 3 team in the East off points. You look at Charleston, you say, yeah, that makes sense. You're kind of shocked that Lou City didn't make the final, but that run had to end at some point. They could not do that forever. It had to end. So it doesn't shock me that Rhode Island are the ones that knocked them out. I'm not really shocked by this because this is the most competitive USL Championship season that we've ever seen. And the gap between 1 and 10 in both leagues is not the same as it used to be. Those 1 through especially 5s now is not what it used to be. And I think that you see this and you say you're not shocked. You would say maybe you expect Blue City to make it through. Maybe you expect a Sacramento to make it through, although they were going through their own massive issues that I didn't think that Sacramento was going to beat Las Vegas. But if you're someone who watches a little bit more casually, I can see how that shock you. But following this as closely as I do, I'm not surprised.
Okay. Let's go to League One.
Now, this is where I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you look at what's going on in League One, and then like, wait a minute. It's the old gag that one of these things is not like the other, and you end up with just, I mean, one team you're like, yeah, I get it completely. The other one, I'm like, no blanking way that I would have anticipated it. And obviously, the folks in Spokane would sit there and wag their finger at you and go, hey, man, it's a postseason. You can do whatever you need to do. 120 minutes, scoreless with Forward Madison. Then you win the first penalty kick shootout in club history. Couldn't have done it at a better time. Velocity, second expansion team to advance to the League One final in their first season. 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Union Omaha, no surprise. Spokane Velocity, damn right that's a surprise.
And if I'm remembering correctly, the only other team to make it to the final in their inaugural season was the inaugural season of the league. That doesn't even count. That's not even real.
Well, I mean, the semantics of it was, let's see. I'm trying to read the lowest seed ever to advance to League One final. And where's my notes? It's like, okay, there's my notes and Brooks Thompson's player of the match, but it doesn't tell me. Spokane also matches League One playoffs record set by North Texas, multiple shutouts in a single postseason. First team in USL League One playoff history to win multiple matches against higher seed opponents in a single postseason. But it doesn't say who the other one was. Well, hang on.
I mean, the only thing I can think of would be Greenville Triumph,
maybe.
North Texas. Those are technically two inaugural teams in their inaugural season because it was the first ever season of the league.
Right.
I mean, I just off the top of my head, I can't think of another one. I'm buzzing through. It's so impressive because if you were to ask me the least likely team to make it past the first round, I mean, it was Spokane. They were easily, to me, the worst team in the playoffs. They didn't have a true bona fide goal scorer. You look at Lewis Hill and you say, yeah, that makes sense. Andre Lewis, it makes sense. I mean, but are you really going to rely on your midfielders to be your goal scorers? That doesn't seem like a way to beat teams that have actual goal scorers and actual defenders. What's happened here is that their defense is ridiculous now. They have an outstanding back line, and Brooks Thompson, I don't know why more championship teams did not try to sign him because, I mean, even if you look at North Carolina, I guess if you're North Carolina, you say that Jake McGuire is better than Brooks Thompson. But if you're trying to invest in the future and look at the long term, why would you not just play Brooks Thompson? He's playing himself into being a longtime figure in the championship or higher. I mean, he is a young talent that is just so good. And he's been a large part of what's made this team change. Defensively, they shut down a Forward Madison team to the point that, I mean, the first half was one of the most boring things I've ever seen in my life. Spokane was not going to attack much. They just weren't. The second half, I mean, it was mostly Forward Madison, but that Spokane stood on their head. Andre Lewis, I think, had a couple of moments, but that's about it. Lewis Hill was mostly a non-factor, but that defense just kept them in it. It was just an unbelievable performance defensively by Spokane that you can't help but wonder if they can just keep it up and do it again.
First-year expansion side, and this is from USLLeagueONE.com. 7-match winless streak into the playoffs, tied for the most in league history among postseason-bound teams. Then, in postseason, they knock off Hailstorm. They win that one 3-0. Took a while for it to get to 3, but they first get the first goal. I think it was 3 second-half goals, if I remember correctly. Lowest seed ever to win a USL League One playoff match. Then they go into Madison, shutting out Forward Madison, regular and extra time, advancing to the League One final. through the first penalty kick shootout in club history, a win away from becoming the first expansion side in league history to win the League One final in their inaugural season. And they were 2-2, these two sides, this season. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be Spokane away from home. You're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You're playing with house money and everything's fine. I mean, I would think all of the pressure is on Union Omaha in this one. Spokane's playing with house money. They've rolled through. Yeah, we went to Four Rivers. We took care of business. Yeah, we went to Breeze Stephen. Yeah, we took care of business. Now we're going again to another road game. I imagine it's going to be at Warner Park in Papillon, Nebraska. And it's just like, look, that other team's they gotta prove that they're the one that's worthy of that top seed, the plus 23 goal difference, the most, I think it was the highest goals per match average in regular season play in league history, all these kinds of things. I think Spokane is basically sitting there going, look, bro, it's on you. We're going to do our thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up with that first 45 this weekend being the same thing that you saw in Madison, where first 45 minutes, I think that Spokane is just trying not to lose in that first 45. Yep. And then the pressure ratchets up like it did against Forward Madison. The pressure ratchets up like it did against Northern Colorado. What does Union Omaha do in response? The further along you get into a game and this 7 seed is still hanging around, then the things start to get between the ears and you're sitting there going, man, I don't know. I wonder how tight Union Omaha gets.
I don't know, because, I mean, even if you look at the matchups they had, Union Omaha won both of their matches because they scored 4 goals. I said they won because of that. Spokane didn't create anything. It was 0 goals, 1 goal. But either way, they scored 4 goals. The first game of the year that they played against each other, it was a 3-2 win for Spokane. I mean, it was an early goal by Union Omaha, but Spokane also has, they know that they can win coming back against this team. They've done it. I think that what you're going to really see is the support of Union Omaha, I think, is going to be the difference. And I'm talking about the actual fans themselves, because when you start to have those fears of, Jesus Christ, we're one of the best teams to ever play in this league, and we're playing against one of the worst teams to ever make the playoffs, and we're still tied. What are we doing here? I think it's kind of on the fans to get them out of it. Snap out of it, guys. We're behind you. We're getting loud. We're going to be too loud for you to think about what's going on here. I think that it's going to the onus is on Union Omaha fans, because I mean, there's so much that Union Omaha is playing for. I mean, just look at their own teammate of Jerome, where he's lost everything.
Yes.
They're playing for him. They're playing for those fans. It's so hard for me to sit there and say Spokane is going to win. But they've done it all postseason.
Yeah.
Well, how can you not believe in the magic? Meanwhile, I think that if you're Union Omaha, there's a lot of reasons why you can look at this team, and say we should win. I mean, look at this Greenville game. It was not a 2-1 scoreline. Omaha just absolutely beat the crap out of Greenville. That scoreline is so misleading. I mean, they smashed the crossbar and just had bad misses all over the place. That this game really could have been a 4-1 win for Union Omaha, and we feel a little bit different about Spokane and this match in general. I think there's a part of me that just in general believes in sports, right? Because there's a magic of sports. We saw it with the biggest one I always like to point to is Tormenta, when they did the double after they had a player pass away. They win League One, they win the W League, and that club just bonded together. I mean, Union Omaha is not just playing for a trophy, they're playing for a teammate. And I think that's going to be motivation in and of itself. I'm leaning Omaha, but it's just, I mean, with Spokane, you just don't know anymore.
Nope. You can say the same thing what we've seen here with Atlanta United in the MLS postseason. So you come in as a 9, you knock off the 8, you knock off Messi and friends, you're in the conference semifinal. So it's all about belief. And to your point about Meshach Jerome, I would recommended reading and Google searching today. Chase up the GoFundMe on the Googles and read about Meshach Jerome and everything that is going on there with them and a team that is wrapping and a community wrapping themselves around a player in a very difficult time. Hit the promo for me. What's going on with the USL show?
Live tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard. We are going live. It's going to be a full League One final preview plus conference final preview. We also have a Google form that's out there. So if you want to let your opinions on these matches be known, go ahead, find those. It's the last thing we posted. It'll be taken over soon by the USL Tactics Show, which you should also watch if you would want to find out a little bit more why Rhode Island took down Lou City.
Why? Exactly. As always, my friend, great to see you. We'll catch up with you next week when we will discuss having a champion in USL League One. And we will also discuss a final coming up in USL Championship and anything else on your mind when it comes to everything USL. Great to see you, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
See ya.
There goes Kaler. And Kaler, it was quiet. He mentioned everybody was gone from his location because of taking extra days and holidays and things like that for Veterans Day and everything. But man, that was quiet. But anyway, Abby, good to see you. And morning, Harry. And I know Abby's wondering about the gear, and yeah, we'll talk about it because we do have a meeting coming soon with all of us where we get to figure out what's going on. But yeah, we need to roll out this round of gear, and we need to do all that. And we need to come up with our new scarf too. We need to produce that. So good morning to everybody who is here this morning. And once again, morning, Harry, you joined on the right day. Okay, here's the traffic for the rest of the week. And first off, thanks to Jenn Hildreth for joining us this morning before she ran errands. And the guy with the leaf blower, we got to talk. Great to catch up with Juan Hernandez. Thanks to Hayes Creech and everybody at CFC, at Chattanooga FC, for letting us catch up with Juan 4 days into his new gig as the head coach for the WPSL team up there at Chattanooga FC. Then Kaler was here, and we caught up with everything USL Championship, USL League One. Tomorrow, the journalistic exchange program when it comes to everything here in this particular footprint. Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes joins us at 9:15. We'll see if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com, and we'll see if we can also catch up with Marion Crowder as she is traveling the planet, covering everything involving USL Super League. Don't forget to catch up with her show on the Super League on SiriusXM with Anna Whitty on the app, and you can find out what's going on with the Super League. And we will transfer our coverage on the weekly shows after USL League One and USL Super League, USL Championship come up with their champs. We're going to transfer that weekly show into being a Super League show, and we'll catch up with folks there. Thursday, obviously, the Power Hour, hour number 2, Nino and Nico are going to join us. Nino Torres from Gold TV at 10. Nico Moreno for the last half hour of the show to discuss everything in Major League Soccer. Then on Friday, see if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can catch up with us as they're traveling the planet. And maybe we can catch up with Michael Parkhurst about what it's like to be winners over the top seed in the Eastern Conference and find out what's going on there. And it looks like we might be able to grab Jessica Charman at 10 o'clock on Friday morning and catch up with her as well and find out about everything going on in her life, which includes Major League Soccer. We'll talk about Charlotte. We'll talk about everything going on in NWSL. And we'll talk about everything going on in the USL Super League. So it'll be a busy couple of days here for us here on the morning show. Okay, before we go, mention some stuff with the NWSL awards. We've also got to get into NCAA soccer before we go to with everything that came out, matchups and stuff. Finalists for NWSL awards: MVP, Barbara Bonda, Temwa Shawinga, Marta, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith. Good luck picking a winner in that one. Defender of the year: Naomi Girma, Kaylee Kurtz, Tara McEwen, Emily Sams, Kylie Strom. Goalkeeper of the year: Anne-Catherine Berger, Mandy Haught, Anna Morehouse. Midfielder of the year: Croy Bethune, Vanessa DiBernardo, Lowell Labonta, Marta, and Ashley Sanchez. My guess is that Shawinga wins MVP. Midfielder of the year goes to Marta. That's just me. Rookie of the year presented by Ally, Croy Bethune, Claire Hutton, Allie Sentner. My guess is it goes to Croy Bethune. And Coach of the year: Juan Carlos Amoros, Vlatko Andonovsky, and Seb Hines. My guess is it goes to Seb Hines. Final round of voting uses a weighted scale. Players 40%, owners, GMs, coaches 25, media 25, fans 10% of the vote. And you can go to the NWSL Soccer website and vote for individual award winners, best 11 first team, best 11 second team, and you have to submit your vote by Friday, November 15th at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So you can get your votes in there by then. Okay, now, quickly, Huntsville City has announced the returning players for the 25 season. 4 players return: defender Kessie Koulibaly, Patrick Amar, and Jordan Knight. Additionally, the club has signed midfielder Ethan O'Brien on a permanent transfer from Indy 11. Koulibaly came from MFK Vyshkov in the Czech Republic Fortuna Narodny Liga. 3 appearances last season for the boys in blue, 86.6% passing accuracy, 2 key passes in his appearances. Amar looks to make a Huntsville City FC and MLS Next Pro debut in 25 season-ending injury in the 24 preseason, so Amar comes back. O'Brien joined Huntsville City Football Club May 31st on loan from Indy 11. 15 appearances, 13 starts, captain armband in a match against Carolina Core. Goal of the season for his strike in the 1-1 draw at Crown Legacy on August 4th. Knight joined the boys in blue June 22nd from a 2-time Eastern Conference champ Columbus Crew. Made his debut 1 day later against FC Cincinnati. 10 appearances, 6 starts. Made history, first Huntsville player to appear in a Leagues Cup match, subbed on for parent club Nashville SC against Mazatlan July 31st. And they're going to have the coming together and discussing of things for Huntsville City in market Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern time for those in the Huntsville area. So Huntsville City has named their returners for the 2025 season. All right, so NCAA, they had brackets come out yesterday. Emory, it was announced that they are going on the road, and we will see what is going on there. The automatic bids for the 2024 tournament, all 22 of them. It's legitimately, I hate pop-up windows because it jams into my ear, and I literally, it shocks me at times. Okay. Full field for Division I on the men's side, Monday, November 18. And so you keep an eye on all of that. In the lower divisions, you end up with a couple of other things in some other divisions. So checking on D2 and D3. December 12 and through 14, Sportsplex at Matthews is going to be the rundown of everything in Division number 2. Let's see if the bracket is out yet, by the way. So we'll see if the bracket exists, but no teams have been announced. Division 3 got announced yesterday. So on the men's side, selections announced for the D3 Men's Soccer Championship. And I've got to hit the God, I hate that when it goes right in my ear. All right, so the first and second rounds come up this weekend. Sectionals on the 23rd and 24th. Semifinals and finals are in Vegas this year. So you've got the selections announced and the interactive bracket on the men's side. Vassar has a men's team. I did not know this. Maybe it's not that Vassar, but they've got a men's team. Oglethorpe is going to host Claremont Mud. That is on the 16th of November at 3:30 Eastern time. And they are in a mini bracket with Colorado College. The teams here always seem to be paired with Colorado College, because remember last year, Emory was in that bracket as well. Emory and Oglethorpe were in that little mini bracket, and it ends up with Oglethorpe and Claremont Mud and Colorado College and Pacific Lutheran. So Colorado College might be having more fun with teams in the Southeast. 1 and 3:30. That will be Colorado College and Pacific Lutheran. And that will be, once again, 1 o'clock in the afternoon at 1 and 3:30. Pacific Lutheran 12-2 and 5. The Lutes taking on Colorado College at 15-2 and 3. So that particular little sectional. Trinity and Bellhaven, Bodwin and Hardin Simmons, St. John Fisher Babson, and 2 teams in Connecticut on the left-hand side. Trying to see if there are any other names. Lynchburg and Emory are going to be squaring off on the 16th at 3:30, and they are in the same mini bracket with Dickinson and St. Mary's of Maryland. So that is Division 3 as it was announced yesterday. So on the women's side, if my math is correct here, going through once again the women's side and checking the D1 bracket on the women's side was revealed yesterday with that particular selection show, and you end up with the interactive bracket in Division 1. And checking the seeds and the footprints, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Cal Baptist, and UCLA. That one is everybody heading out west to play on the 15th. Wake Forest gets an opening round matchup with Moorhead as a 2 seed. Georgia will get Colorado as the early match, 4:30 Eastern in that mini bracket, and then Moorhead and Wake Forest will play at 6 o'clock. Auburn's going to play at 7 o'clock as the 6 seed, and they're going to play FIU. Ohio State is the 3, and they're going to play James Madison. FIU and Auburn, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Princeton and Virginia, Wisconsin, Maine, Kansas, and the Billikens of St. Louis in the 1-8 bracket. USC, Southern Cal, and Sacramento State is the 1-8 on the right-hand side of the bracket. So that's Division 1. Division 2 on the women's side, still waiting for brackets to be formulated and populated there. On the Division 3 side of things, checking quickly, I'm trying to see if there are any familiar faces in the women's side in Division 3. You're looking at, let's see, William Smith, Penn State, Harrisburg, Tufts, Rowan, Pomona Pitzer, UC Santa Cruz, Cal Lutheran, Trinity, Scranton, Marywood, Wesleyan, SUNY Brockport, U Chicago, Lawrence, Calvin, Greenville, Skidmore, Case Western Reserve, Messiah, Gordon, Claremont, Mudd, and Colby, MIT, and SUNY Geneseo, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Simpson, WashU, and DePaul. So that is your first round for the women's tournament in Division 3. So keep an eye on all of that particular activity. And December 6th through 8 at Peter Johann Memorial Field in Las Vegas is where the Division 3 Women's Soccer Championship is going to be held. So you've got that. That's I hate pop-up windows. Pop-up windows drive me crazy. Receiving automatic qualifications. It was you had where was the UAA? WashU on the women's side got the automatic bid. Emory got an at-large berth in the automatic qualifications as well. So, so if Emory got a, you're only looking at half the bracket. No wonder. Where's Emory here? Emory is playing Methodist on the 16th at 1 o'clock Eastern time. They play Methodist, and then after that it's Pacific Lutheran and Maryville, Tennessee. The winners play on the 17th at 3 o'clock Eastern time as well. So Emory Methodist, PacLu, and Maryville, Tennessee is the bracket. No wonder it's like you only had half the teams, John. Nicely done. So Vassar's men and women's teams made it in. So that's your first round activity in women's soccer. And if I had actually rolled down to the bottom of the page, then it wouldn't be as difficult as I made it, considering I was only reading half of the brackets. Really quickly, stuff on the day. Brighton has axed the majority of the scouts in a recruitment overhaul. Matt Law, Mike McGrath, Sam Wallace. Once again, more than one reporter. You know it's a problem. The move underlines the importance of owner Tony Bloom's secretive data model and raises fears within the scouting community. That will be your required reading of the day, where Brighton seems to have sent most of their scouting and recruiting department out the door. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. And like I said, it's a very light day when it comes to everything going on in the sport. Everybody's kind of working their way through. Coventry City says that Frank Lampard is in the running to be the new manager at least for the remainder of this season. So he is. It will be interesting to see when it comes to Frank Lampard and whether or not he is going to be there at Coventry City and how long of a deal he signs. Bernard's second coming is in Saudi Arabia is going to start against the Socceroos. So we'll keep an eye on that when it comes to the international window as well. And I think that might do it for today. Once again, thanks to Jenn Hildreth for dropping in this morning. And also thanks to Juan Hernandez, the new head coach, club legend for Chattanooga FC. He's now the new head coach for the WPSL side that's going to start up here in 2025 in the WPSL Sprint, a very tough division. So it'll be a challenge for coach Juan Hernandez in Chattanooga FC. And then Kaylor Hodges and our friends at the USL show. Remember, their live show is tonight. Follow them on YouTube and follow them on their social medias as well. We'll be back at it again, once again, a little less than 22 hours because we've got a full show on Wednesday for Wall Pass. And it's going to be stacked, packed, and racked. Tyler Pilgrim and a cast of thousands joining us tomorrow as we break down everything that happened in Major League Soccer, all the news of the day, and anything else on your mind as well. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by for the morning show. Back at it again in a little less than 22. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe. We'll catch up with you again